Yasas Kalimera. This is Kalimera. This is only the words that I know in Greek, so I'm going to speak in English. Sorry. So my name is Javier Ahedo. I work as a pre-sales in Spanish office in Madrid. So I'm going to talk to you about the Liferay Analytics. So as Andrea told you during the morning, Liferay has evolved, and now we have 4 products. We have Liferay DSP, the original product that we have born with this product, Commerce, DSP Cloud, and now Analytics Cloud. So let's start. The talk will be divided in 3 main blocks. The first one is how to understand our audience, how to order all the data that we have in our companies. The second one is the key concepts of analytics. We need to know 3 main concepts to understand the product. And then I'm going to show you a live demo with a server that we have in Spain. So let's start. Why Analytics Cloud? Of course, we need to understand our audience. We need to engage our customers with our platforms. Okay. So the main concept here is to understand, to get all the data that we have in our companies, all the interaction or the user interaction, and then order it and analyze it. So it's really, really important to understand our customers. And how does Analytics Cloud work? For me, it's amazing to share with you this feature, this product, because it's the first SaaS product in Liferay. It's the first one. So it means that it was on the cloud, and now all the servers and all the environments send information to the analytics, to the cloud, and then we will analyze them and use them to make better decisions of our business. Okay, so you never again have to worry about the hardware in this case. And where does Analytics Cloud work? So here is a really important thing to talk about the omni-channel concept. Liferay is an omni-channel product. We can create sites in a web. We can create mobile applications. We can create a customer portal and more. Okay. So all the data that the user interact with these applications, these sites, will send to the cloud, to the Analytics Cloud, to analyze it and then make better decisions. So it's really important to know that Liferay is an omni-channel product. So the key concepts. There are 3 main concepts here. The first one is people, interaction, and data source. Andrea told you before in his talk. So how people interact with our platforms, and how can we measure these interactions? So for that, Liferay is able to get and to store 2 types of users, known users and unknown users. Okay, so this is one of the main great difference against our competitors like Google Analytics, you know. So we can store the interaction of known users because of these users are in the Liferay DSP server and Analytics Cloud, and these servers send the information to Analytics Cloud, so we know them. And once we have create or we have know this user, this type of users, we can create an user segments that with common behaviors and characteristics. We know all of our users, and then we can create this user segment dynamically or statically. Okay, we'll show you in a demo. So the second concept here is interactions. Okay, there are two ways to interactions with Liferay Analytics Cloud. So first one is pages. You know that pages in Liferay are the container to widgets, portlets, or applications. You know, now the name is widget, the official name is widget. So the user interact with these pages and we collect this data. But other difference against our competitors is the assets. Because we can measure the interaction, the specific interaction of individual assets, like forms, web content, documents, and media. It's all done, it's all implemented, so you don't have anything to implement it, okay? So Analytics Cloud collect all the information of these assets and present to you to take decisions. Okay? This is really, really important thing. And then the third concept is data source. So in Liferay DSP, we have two ways to get information in analytics. So the first one is Liferay DSP server, the typical server in Liferay. So this server will send information to Analytics Cloud, all the information. And the second one is importing CSV files. You can enrich your analytics using this kind of data source. Okay. For instance, you can have a form in a symposium. You can export this data in a CSV file, and you can import into Analytics Cloud. So we can enrich the information. So what are the benefits of use Analytics Cloud? So there are several benefits, but one of them is know the performance of your digital channel. How? Between this, a lot of information in Analytics Cloud, but we can measure the engagement of the users using, for instance, this kind of metrics and this kind of graphics, submission, views. You can engage this user, okay, using the graphics. We can collect information only for the specific assets. Okay, this is one of our assets is forms, and we can measure the individual fields and individuals behaviors of the users. Okay, I'll show you in a demo then. So the path is important too. Where users came from to our page. Okay, so we can know if a marketing campaign is working or not working. Okay, using this path is easy to see it here and understand our audience better. How? Showing or seeing statistics because we know unknown users. Okay, and we can refine our assets and our marketing campaigns. Okay, and then single customer view. Again, we have to enrich our data, our statistics, using the import or using some or several servers of Liferay DSP. We can do that. And user segments, as you know, we can create several segments based on common behaviors and characteristics of the users, and we can create dynamically and statically using this page. Okay, so I'm going to show you a demo. This is the best part of the talk. I'm going to open a server here. Okay, I'm going to refresh the server, the page. So at the first moment, we'll see it's loading. It's the problem of live demos, no problem. So here is. This is the main page. You can have a lot of platforms, a lot of projects here in Analytics Cloud. Depends on the server. You can have a public website or a customer portal or whatever. Okay, and you can choose here. So I'm going to choose this one. And this is the dashboard of the Analytics Cloud. This is the main dashboard. And here is the main concepts of Analytics Cloud. Here is the people concept, segment individuals, touch points are interactions in Analytics Cloud. Here, pages and assets. And here we have the data source that is in the settings, but it's here in data source. Okay, so there are the three main concepts in Analytics Cloud. It's important. I'm going to start with pages. I click on pages and I wait. So this is the list of pages that we have in our server, all of them, all of the pages. So we are going to select one, the home page, and then we can see all the graphics and all the statistics. Yes. Here, the main here is the visitors' behavior, how visitors are interact with our page. Remember that we are in a page, in a pages. Okay. The first concept is engagement. Engagement is calculating through several concepts like scrolling or time or interact with a page, okay, and we can measure it. And then we have visitors here. We said views is the other concept, that visitors are individual concept, individual user, and views the count of the views. The bounce rate. Do you know how the bounce rate is? I didn't know, but it's the interaction with the page. The user have interaction with the page. If the interaction is complete with all the assets in the page, the bounce rate will be 0%. And if the user don't interact with any asset of the page, will have the 100%. So. The other concept is time of page, of course. Okay, so the most important here is to compare with other periods. In all graphics in Analytics Cloud, we can compare with other periods here. We can compare with the last 90 days. Okay, in the blue line, in the solid one, we are showing the current period, and in the green one, the green line, the dot one, is we are showing the previous period. Okay, so we can compare with this kind of graphics the evolution of our marketing campaigns or pages or assets. Or okay, we can use these filters to do that. Okay, so even these filters, we can select other filters, the main one, to select the devices like desktop or location, like for instance Colombia, I don't know. And the graphics will be refreshed when we select these filters. Okay, so the second part of the pages are viewed by segments. Remember that we can create user segments as we want. So here, these segments are created by us, okay, business persona, with activity, staff, and more. Okay, and we can show the views by segment. Okay, it's important. In all graphics is this filter. Okay, we can compare. And other graphic is views by location. Remember that we have in the pages here, we can know where people are visiting our servers or our pages. Okay, and we can measure the views by operating system or web browser. Like here, we can select other periods, for instance, to know the difference, and we can measure depends on the browser, because the browsers are different, you know. So one of the best concepts here is the path. This is a graphic to where users came from. Here is the page, the home page that we are analyzing, and this is the origin of the user, the login, cloud, and several pages. Okay, we can know the origin and then fix or change the campaigns or the banners that we are using. Okay, so in pages, remember that pages in Liferay is a container of assets and widgets. Okay, in Liferay. In this page we have one asset. Okay, this is the second main concept in Liferay Analytics Cloud, assets. We can measure several assets now: blogs, documents and media, forms, and web content for now. And every asset have different concepts, like views, reading, in this case of the blogs, or in the case of documents and media, we can measure the downloads of the document, the previews, etc. Web content the same. Web content, we can measure all the views that we have in the web contents. And I'm going to show you the forms because I think it's the more complete. For instance, I'm going to choose this one. So in the first moment, we see the same graphic, but with other concepts. Okay, with submission, how many submission users have in this form, or views or the form. The abandonment, okay, is when a user lose the form, lose the focus, okay. And the completion time, we can measure how many time the user used to complete the form. Okay, it's interesting concepts to measure the assets. And remember that it's all implemented in Liferay. You don't have to do anything, okay, to do that. And we can compare with other periods as well. Okay, and we can view the segments at the same of the pages. We can measure the specific asset. In this case, is a form with the segments. Okay, we can show the views by segment, and at the same with the pages, we can view the locations and the submissions by technology. Like operating system and web browser is the same. But here is the really important thing, this graphic, because this is the measure of the specific asset. Okay, this is the general one. Okay, the form has 8 views and abandonment 37.5%. Okay, and 2 visitors left the page with interaction to it. Okay, this is the general information of the form, but we can measure all the fields. Do you know the fields? the preference contact, the first name, the last name, and we can measure the interaction of the specific field of the form. Okay, 2 interactions, 1 interaction, 1 interactions, the abandonment rate here, and then the time that user stay in this specific field. 1 second, 2 seconds, 1 second, and the percent of the user go again to this field. Okay, so all these are implemented. You don't need to do anything to do that. Okay, so this is assets, the second main concept in Analytics Cloud, pages and assets. This is the interactions of the users. So then other concept is individuals. Remember that we can store non-users and unknown users. These users are stored in Liferay DSP server. Okay, that we can use the name and surname and other specific features of this user here. Okay, so we are going to look for one of them. So we can show the specific statistics for these users, like activities. Okay, the interaction of these users with the server, with the pages and with the assets here. We can show the details. Okay, we have a lot of characteristics here. That's first name, values, source column. Okay, we have the source column is where data came from. Okay, remember that we have 2 ways to import the data in Analytics Cloud, the DSP server and the CSV file for now. So this column is exactly this, and the last modified. Okay, you can check all the details of these users, and you can measure the interest. This is a calculated statistic using several concepts like scrolling, interest of a page, assets, etc. And you can measure with a number. Okay, and you can show the segments that belongs that this user is belongs to. Okay, for instance, developer. So I'm going to move to the segments concept here. Remember that we are in people, and we can create all segments as we want here. So I choose a specific segment. This is a developer segment, but I'm going to create new one in segment to show you how easy it is create a new segment. Remember that there are 2 types of segment, dynamic and static. We can do the name of devel, and we can use static. If we choose static, we can add some members. Okay, we can choose any members, and then we can add to this user segment. But if we choose dynamically, yeah, we can create a criteria, okay, with common properties or behaviors. Okay, here is the properties and behaviors. If we choose the property 1, we have all of them, of the properties that we have get in the DSP server. Okay, and if we choose behaviors, we can select the specific concept, like download, for instance. I don't know if any users download anything, signs, all time. You can show that this graphic is refreshing live using the criteria, and we can create some criteria with operators like and or. Okay, we can create a complex criteria. So this is the segments. I'm going to cancel it. I'm going to choose one have created, like developers, for instance. And here we can, once we have created the user segment, we can see these statistics. For instance, here's the overviews, the membership, how much or how many people belongs to this user segment, okay, and all the people that's here with their emails is dangerous. So the interest, again, the calculate concept depends on the page here, and the distribution, okay. This is you can choose, okay, all the properties, like by country, and so on, okay, USA. You can measure this kind of segment. And the last one is, remember that we have three main concepts. The people is here, the touch span is here, and the data source, okay. We are going to choose the data source. This is the third part. And for that, we have two roles in Analytics Cloud, like member and administrator. Now we have as a member in this project, but I'm going to choose administrator. I'm going to switch the project and select the other one. Okay. Here. In this project, I am an administrator, so I can show you specific settings or features like add data source. This is the only data source of this project. This is a library DSP server, but we can add other data source like other servers or DSP or CSV file. You can import it and create. Okay. So this is the data source here. We can configure the contacts or configure the analytics, okay, and delete data source. And we can manage the users, like here. They are part of my of my team in Spain. So we can invite users, or we can delete users. Okay, you can manage all the users in your Analytics Cloud here in your project. So the last concept is the usage. Okay, we can use Analytics Cloud for free with 1,000 of people, okay, individuals. So let's go. and then we can use another rates when the users are more than 1,000. Okay, but this is the interplay plans. Okay, so this is Analytics Cloud. This is how Analytics Cloud works. This is the main concepts of analytics. The most important thing is we can measure all the interactions with our users. We can measure the specific assets. It's really, really important. And we can measure the specific individuals, okay, with name and surname. This is the most important things in Analytics Cloud. So I'm going to return to the. So I'm going to talk to you about the roadmap because I think it's important. So some highlights to the roadmap in Analytics Cloud. The first one, the most important thing is GDPR, as Andrea told us. That is really important because now we have stored the specific data of the users, and we need to have the permission of these users to use that. And then for the next year, I'm going to improve more channels in Analytics Cloud. Now we have only Liferay DSP servers, but only in the 7.0 and 7.1. And then we can have a 6.2 servers, okay, and enrich information for other customers like Salesforce or something like that. Okay. So the documentation of Analytics Cloud is here. It's not in dev.liferay.com. It's the new URL, the help.liferay.com. This is the documentation. Here is the documentation of Analytics Cloud and DSP Cloud, a little. So this is the new one, and it's okay. Because if you want ask some question, I'm available.